And you're still watching Prime Morning, of course. The elections are finally over. We have a president-elect that's in the person of John Dramani Mahama, and he won with a landslide vote. Actually, it's quite interesting because we've never seen it happen here in Ghana before. The kind of margin that he won with is historic. And it tells you that Ghanaians have a lot of expectations with regards to what he said he will do. The promises are there. Will he be able to honor these promises? Or is it just going to be one of those promises that they tell us, and when they occupy the seats and come into power, we hear something else. We see arrogance. Well, it could be a different story this time around. And so we are going to delve into this conversation that is to do with his administration. We are evaluating Mahama's administration, what he has said that he's going to do in the first 120 days. We'll take a look at the 10 policies that he's spoken about. Are they feasible to be done, or they cannot be done? Now, I'm here with Alhaji Alhasan Mbalba, and this man has been here campaigning for the NDC. He came all the way from the UK to do this campaign. He's actually told me that he's leaving this weekend. Good morning, Alhaji.
Yeah, good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. Yeah. And good morning to your cherished listeners. I'm fine. We are in a celebrated mood.
And how does it feel to win, though?
Oh, yeah, very exciting. I mean, the whole country is excited, except those who miss out. But unlike the other side of the political divide, this victory is for Mother Ghana. We're a bit worried whether we're going to continue to have a constitutional role in this country because of the bad governance of the current government. But yes, the victory, or John Mahama victory on Saturday, gave Ghanaians another hope that our democracy has come to stay. So no political party should take Ghanaians for granted. So yes, we're excited, but the expectation and aspiration of Ghanaians is now on NDC to deliver. We can't afford to disappoint Ghanaians. And we know the task ahead is going to be difficult. But the good thing is that we have a very experienced man to lead the crusade. In the history of this country, this is the first time we have elected the most experienced person as our president. A former assemblyman, a former MP, former vice president, former president. What else can we ask for, my sister?
All right. So let's see if he can do the job. Let's see. We are also being joined on phone by the editor of a Daily Dispatch. He's also a pollster, and he actually predicted a win for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. It's the one and only Ben Efson. Good morning, Uncle Ben.
Good morning. Good morning to our listeners.
How are you?
Oh, you are good. And you?
Fine, thank you. And thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
So, Uncle Ben, let me ask you this in the first place. So on Wednesday, the newspapers, what came out on the Daily Dispatch was a victory for the NPP, where we saw your history of how you have told Ghanaians of polls, and it's come to pass. But this time round, for the second time, it didn't come to pass. What could have gone wrong with your polls, or why did Ghanaians decide not to vote according to the polls that you did?
Well, over the past 23, 24 years, I've done 8 polls, I've missed 2. Now, on both occasions, like this one, for example, in polling, it is difficult to know a party. If you look at 2020, 2024, the numbers that the NDC got were about the same. NPP's numbers dropped by about 30%. In Ashanti, for example, the votes that the NPP got in 2020 dropped by over 1.2 million in 2024 in Ashanti alone. So that is the problem with polling. It is difficult to indicate a party. It was the same thing in 2016. in 2016, the US, most of the polls failed because the blacks decided not to turn out and vote for Hillary Clinton when he was campaigning with Obama for the Democratic slot. He took pot shots at the blacks. So when he became the Democratic candidate, they refused to turn out. So that's one of the problems with polling. You cannot indicate a party that people will not turn out.
So are you saying if all 30% had turned out for the NPP, they would have won?
Pardon?
If all 30%, the 30% that didn't turn up for the voting, if they had turned up, would the NPP have won?
Oh, yes. I mean, the NDC's numbers were about the same as 2020. NPP's votes declined by 30%. They just didn't come out to vote. And I've given you one typical example, the stronghold of Ashanti region.
But what could be the reason why?
But just Google 2020 NPP, NDC, NPP votes in Ashanti 2020 and 2024.
Uncle Ben,
shut down, pardon?
Sorry, I was going to ask you why we actually witnessed this kind of apathy.
That you're saying why the drop?
Yes, why? What could be the reason?
Yes, if why the drop, I think that there was apathy. I think that the regional executives kind of went to sleep. They took things for granted. And I'm sure when the NPP goes to polls to elect the constituency and regional executives, there'll be a political tsunami. I mean, clearly, most of the executives will be swept away.
Right. Okay, so let me ask you about John Dramani Mahama's 100 days in office. Now, I'll read a few pointers of what he says. He will do 120 days in office, pardon me. A few pointers of what he says he will do. He says he will nominate within the first 14 days the complete list of cabinet ministers for parliament approval. He will also constitute the leanest and most efficient government in first 90 days in office. Now, number 3, he will establish a robust code of conduct and standards for all government officials. 4, he will hold a national economic dialogue to discuss homegrown fiscal consolidation solutions. 5, to scrap e-levy, COVID levy, 10% levy on bet winnings, and emissions levy within.
I think that Mahama is going to walk a very tricky path. Generally speaking, presidents on their final term, don't look beyond their term because in their first term, they want re-election, so they are a bit more careful. Now, John is on his last term. So, yes, he will try, he will want to leave a legacy. But within the NDC, after 1.5 years of John being in power, his party is going to be rocked by infighting because those who are interested in becoming the NDC flag bearer for 2028 are going to start putting their people in place so that when the election of delegates come, their people are elected. So John, he wants to leave a legacy so that people can always refer to his rule. But if within, people around you are fighting, somebody bringing somebody down because the person wants to be elected as the flag bearer, that is the problem I foresee John having.
Okay.
Within his party, after a year and a half, we are going to have internal explosion. People wanting to have a stake towards 2028.
Right.
That is going to be his main problem.
Wow. Okay, I'll come back to you. I want to ask Alhaji Mbalba if he does agree with you on this.
I beg to differ a bit, especially the reason why there's a drop in Ashanti region. Yes, we can rule out voter apathy. My concern is the voter register. I believe the voter register, the current one that we have, is overbloated. Demographically, how can you have a country of 33 million roughly, and over 50% of the population are within the voting age?
It's not possible?
Well, it's difficult. We have a growing population. We don't have aging population. Where birth rate is low, like in most advanced countries, you can have something like that. I'm not a population expert, but the little geography and social studies that I studied, I think there's something wrong with the register. The register is a suspect. So what I think accounted mainly for NPP's drops in Ashanti region has to do with the overbloated register in that region. And no wonder, allegedly, because I didn't say it, a tamperinted ballot papers were discovered in Ashanti region.
Which ones?
500,000.
We never saw them.
Well, Yamin, our national
Yamin never showed them.
Yeah, but
Yamin
there was, that's
there.
what I'm saying. Well,
So Yamin never showed them. Yamin stood there, was on phone, said he had seen it. When he got there, the police had taken it away. So nobody ever saw those
Okay,
boxes.
but even with that, I still think that there's problem with our voter register. Now that the elections are over, I will plead for all the stakeholders to come together and agree and put pressure for Jane Mensah-led Electoral Commission to audit the register. I think there's something wrong with the register. Besides that, I think the general economic hardship was not just affecting people in Accra, it was every Ghanaian, regardless of which region you are living. Ashanti region, are they not living in this country? The second largest city. So the economic hardship was hitting them hard. So if you look at it, it wasn't just increase in our vote for the presidential. For the first time since '92, 10 seats from Ashanti region. We can't attribute that to dropped or voter. No. People were fed up. The arrogance, the bad governance that we experienced or we are experiencing under this current government contributed to whatever happened on Saturday, 7th December. Now, on the issue of there being fighting under John Mahama's administration because people were trying to succeed him, I don't think it's going to be blown out of proportion. And the topic for today is first 120 days. Yes. So I don't think the infighting will even start. But even if it starts, it's just natural. That people, by our nature, we are selfish. Everybody knows that after 4 years, it's not going. So if they are positioning themselves to take over, it's normal. But we have a way of managing things within our party. This time around, NDC was very united. Look what Martin Hamido did a few days to the election. And I was very happy because I was worried because the way he was quiet, because in 2020, some few days to the election, he came out and released one of his write-up, which to some extent caused problems for NDC. But this time around, the guy who contributed to the drafting and proclamation of the '92 Constitution just said he can't sit and allow this constitutional dispensation to be disrupted again, because we're heading towards that. If this election gone the other way, only God knows what would have happened. So the people rather chose to express their anger through the ballot box. So first 120 days, appointment of cabinet ministers within 14 days, I think that is achievable. By now, he would have penciled some of the ministers for the key positions. And then before or just about his inauguration, other positions will be filled. So for the infighting,
do you have a hint that he has appointed a few?
No, I don't have a hint.
Okay.
But what I'm saying, because it was clear that he's going to win the election.
Okay.
It's just the margin that came to some of us as a surprise.
Okay.
But for winning, we knew we were going to win.
You knew you were winning.
Yeah, I said it on Tuesday.
The polls from Ben Efson was different.
Didn't I tell you last Tuesday that Bormeo will not get anything less, more than 40? I said it. I said roughly around 40%, because the premises on which he was elected and his running mate were chosen was problematic from day one. They based their decisions on past glories. And we're in today's Ghana, not 2006 and not 2020. Everyone is complaining. And they were not failing it. They were gaslighting Ghanaians as if we were lying. And the prices of foodstuffs were increasing. So back to the issue of infighting will affect us in 2020. Never. Even before this election. You know why we're united? Because we knew for anybody to succeed, we must win this election.
Right. Now, the things that you have to do.
Yes.
Are they feasible within this 120 days?
It's feasible.
Let's take a look at the no academic fee policy, where people are asking the question, where will you get the money from?
Oh, I think we have made a wrong estimate of how much it's going to cost. I know there's a figure, I can't quite remember. And if we do the leanest and the most effective government that we are going to set up, then there will be money to make the first payment. So the subsequent years, there will be proper budgetary allocation for it. Don't forget, we are in December. The new academic year will start somewhere in September. Am I right? So we have almost 11 months to make the necessary budgetary allocation. Maybe they may call on GAT fund, which this current government has put cap on it, to make sure that we kickstart the first year's fees, which will be waived. So that is achievable. We have time to even think about that. And as I said earlier on, the 14th day for cabinet minister to be in place is simple. We can do that. Now, another thing is talking about the accelerated export development authority. I don't think we need any legislative framework to do that. No. So that one is achievable because it's going to be an agency under the presidency. And the president, Mahama himself, is going to chair that authority. The accelerated export promotion authority is to increase our export and create export-driven jobs. And we all know how the city is struggling. If we are earning foreign exchange through increase in export, definitely it will contribute to stabilization of the city. Yes, he made mention of the establishment of the Women's Bank. That one is achievable. The seed money will be released. And then the Mahama...
You keep on talking about seed money. You have been in opposition all this while.
Yes.
What if after transition you discover there's not much money in the coffers?
That is what I'm saying. He said 120 days. I don't think this... I think these people, they have stolen the purse. Though they said they were coming to protect it. I mean, literally. But I think there will be some savings immediately. And yesterday, I don't know if you listened to the UN representative in Ghana. What he said was that they are prepared to help the government. They will help President Mahama's government to succeed as long as he demonstrates that he's out to fight corruption. For now, we don't have good credit rating. We can't buy on international, borrow international world market. IMF, we are struggling. But if there's a new government and there's demonstration from day one that even if there are no money in the coffers, I'm saying this because it happened in UK recently. When Labour took over, they made promises. But when they took over, they discovered that there was 22 billion black hole in the public finances. So the government quickly came out their exchequer to make it clear that, look, what they were expecting is worse than that. So some of the things that they promised, they have to scale it back. Ours will not be, in terms of our needs. So if we go back to, in case there's no money to help, we can count on others to help us whilst we try to put...
Who are the others?
I mean, the IMF is still there. We have not existed. I'm not saying we are going to do that, though. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Because we need to make sure that we don't disappoint Ghanaians again. So whatever it will take for some of these things to be implemented within 120 days, I have no doubt President Mahama will do it.
Right. Let me talk to Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, Uncle Ben. So, talking about they saying that they will be able to do all these things. One question that I asked was the fact that funds, because they've been in opposition, and of course, saying they'll be able to do these things, they need to even finish with the transition, see how much is in the coffers before they even go ahead and say they are going to do this. Do you think that the pressure on them is the reason why they are promising these things? And if it's not able to be achieved, Ghanaians are going to hold them at ransom?
Well, I think that we succeed in elections. It is clear that the swing voters are increasing. For the hardcore supporters, for example, of both parties, they will not go and vote for another party, but they live within communities. So the hardship, they will feel the hardship too. They will feel the taunts of their opponents and the swing voters. And what they will do is that there will be no motivation for them to go out and vote. I mean, I'm sure Mahama knows that in 2016 his defeat was mainly by a party within his party. So he knows that once he's exiting, if he does not, I mean, he will be in a bit of a fix. He's not coming back. So when a president is on his first term, he knows he has to try and dot all the I's and do well for his second term. Mahama finds himself in a very dangerous situation in the sense that he's one term, and if he behaves like a normal second-term president, somebody who is not first and going on to second term, he's going to dig holes for his party. So the next 2-3 years is going to be a bit challenging for him, trying to fulfill the promises, trying to superintend over internal struggles as who would like to succeed in terms of being elected flag bearer. So I think that by having been a president before, having lost an election before, to try and stay in the course to help the NDP towards 2028.
Right. Now, let's take a look at the transition team. We are looking at Honorable Julius Deborah as a co-chairperson from the NDC side, Honorable Johnson Asiedu Nketi as a member, Honorable Fifi Fiavi Kwete as a member, Dr. Callistus Mahama as a member and also secretary to the transition team, Dr. Valerie Sawyer, and Professor Kwame Ahoy, Honorable Dr. Kaisel Atoforcing, Honorable Mahama Yariga, Honorable Gusitano, Dr. Edward Omanibuama, all of them are members. How solid is this team, in your opinion, though?
Oh, I think that if you look at Mahama's transition, sorry, am I the one to answer?
Yes, please.
Yes. If you look at the transition list, it gives you a fair idea of people who may be going to, I mean, for example, I won't be surprised if Julius Deborah is appointed the chief of staff. I won't be surprised. So
for another
if
term?
you look at the list, pardon?
For another term?
Yes. And if you look at the list, and John announced he has said he's going to prune down the number of ministers. And I'm sure when he makes his appointment, and you look at the transition team of the NDC, you see that maybe 7 or 8 will be in key positions. And the essence of this transition team is basically to try and get information. So, for example, Dr. Callistus Mahama could be the executive secretary to Mahama. You know, so all the names there are sure in his mind. He has settled them for certain positions. That is why they are on the transition team.
Right. That's quite interesting, I must say. Let me ask Alhaji Mbalba, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree because it's a solid team. And if you look at those on that team, their profile, they have held key positions in his last administration. And history is about to repeat itself. Anytime people are appointed to serve in the transition team, they tend to form the skeleton, the first appointees, when the president starts to make permanent positions. Julius Debra is highly respected within Ghana, especially within NDC. So, like he said, I wouldn't be surprised if he is reappointed as the chief of staff. Basically, Dr. Khalisus Mahama is already the secretary to the president-elect. So if he decides to create, last time I don't think he had executive secretary. If he decides to create something like that, or cabinet secretary, it's likely to put him there. My good friend, you didn't mention his name, Mahama Yarga.
I mentioned.
Okay.
I mentioned.
Yeah, I think he held a number of portfolios, so hopefully he may find his way back. You have Arthur Folson, and then...
Are you surprised with Gusitano? Because it's
no,
one
I'm
name
not
that people are
surprised because
about.
one of the flagship programs, Gusitano is behind it, the 24/7 economy, for the job creation aspect manifesto committee. And this government is going to focus on job creation.
All right.
Yes.
Now, for a party that say you are so woman-driven, it's quite surprising to see that your transition team has only one woman.
Yeah, I mean, I think they will balance it because there's going to be subcommittees. That's not the end of it. If you look at it, per the transitional act, the outgoing government will have a committee and the incoming one will have. So I strongly believe that the women will find their place when they start forming the subcommittee. They have not come up with the subcommittees yet. Okay. I think they will really even do the business.
But I hope you know Ghanaians are going to be hard on you when it comes to women being a part of the government.
Oh yeah, we said 30% across the board. And we are not going to behave like Akufo-Addo told the whole world that there were no competent women in his party to appoint. He said it. He went to one of the UN conference, not even in Ghana. And if you look at the MPs, the women that won their parliamentary seats, and the women that play a key role in the... no, there is Valerie Sawyer.
There's Valerie Sawyer.
There's Valerie Sawyer.
She's the only woman.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. There's going to be subcommittees. So, I mean, that's one thing. The 10%, 30% that we're talking about is across the board. So if at the end of the day, he's going to come out with, let's say, 100 appointees, for argument's sake, and the 30% are women, then he would have been taking the box there. Okay. Yeah. So for us, we are not going to disappoint Ghana. And these are policies, promises that were thought through properly, fully baked. Unlike the NPP, they were just doing campaign as you go promises. Some of their things, there wasn't any feasibility studies to underpin them. Yes, so Gusitano, like you said, I can see him playing a major role. In whatever role, I don't know, but it's one of the pillars in the party.
Okay. And Uncle Ben, I think I'll take your final words and then you can go.
Oh, I think that once again, Ghana's democratic credentials have been uplifted. I mean, clearly, it looks like majority of the voters have taken a decision that the maximum we will give any party or any government will be 2 terms. So let's see how it goes. I mean, democracy has won, and that is the important thing. I'm happy for.
That's good.
In 50 years of journalism, I've seen this country go through various military regimes. Democracy may have its imperfections, but you can't compare democracy to a military rule, and that's what Ghanaians have chosen. And I think that the future is good for this country.
Yeah. Uncle Ben, I hope nobody has, given you any form of threat whatsoever. All right, so I think, unfortunately. Okay, hello, Uncle Ben? Oh, unfortunately. Yes, so we just wanted to know because of the things that are happening. Yeah. But it was on the lighter note, we wanted to know if everything is okay. But yes.
Yeah, because of his polls.
Yes, because of his polls and,
Yeah, I think, I don't know what underpin his polls. Sorry, he's not here to respond. But I think we have come of an age, our democracy, I mean, that we need scientific polls to predict some of these things. Global Info Analytics were very scientific in their approach. I used to go, because it's not just publicizing the polls, it provides the empirical evidence to underpin it. So anybody who was interested in what he was doing and followed the empirical evidence, you'll be convinced that the guy was on the right track. But what Ben Epstein did and Kweku Wapko did is what one of our leading members, Dr. Spiogabra, once described as chop bar polls. I mean, there wasn't groundwork. And then Musa Dankwa started about 2 years ago. So I'm not surprised. He got it right. Right, especially the percentages. And I said Mahama was going to get more than the 52 because the last-minute polls that he was doing was telephone polls. And majority of Ghanaians who are struggling to address bread and butter issues will not have time to be speaking to a police store over the phone. So they were not captured. And no wonder John almost got 57% unprecedented. Even our founder, Jerry Rawlings, was making around 53, 54.
All right. Yeah. Alhaji Mbalba, thank you so much for making time and joining us.
Thank you.
I know you're leaving this weekend, but you definitely be back in January.
Yeah, I'll be back.
For the swearing in.
I'll be back.
All right.
Yeah,
well, so when
mission accomplished.
you come back, we'll definitely bring you back.
No problem. Thank you. Again, good morning to you.